So how do you think he'll come back? Because he's been out of football now he got suspended a long time for 2 years. The Browns gave him that 5-year, $230 million contract, obviously risking a lot this year too, and not paying him a lot of money this year, but pushed it aside. Do you think he'll come back the same way he was? Do you think he'll drop down maybe he's like a top 10, top 15 quarterback? And was it worth it for the Browns, even if he does miss a lot of time this year, if they get him long term over what they would have had to deal with Baker?
I think he'll be a similar player to what he was before. I don't think you lose that type of talent in a couple years, even without live game action. I'm sure he's been playing football the whole time, even if he wasn't active for the Texans last year. So I think, like, from an on the field standpoint, he's still going to be one of the best quarterbacks in the league when he's back. But from like a team standpoint, even ignoring like just like the like moral aspect of it, like it does seem like a huge risk to pay this guy like $230 million when he has such massive off the field concerns. And like there's still a risk that this pops up more in the future, right? Like we could be a year or two down the road and this whole thing comes back. So I think it's a big risk by the Browns, one that I probably wouldn't have made, but I'm not in the front office, so we'll see how it works out for them.
We were talking to Establish the Run Fantasy Football NFL and betting analyst Jack Miller. Jack, I got a few more for you. Kyler Murray got his contract. Speedy knows how I feel about Kyler Murray. I am in the minority of not being a big fan of him. I never was. And I got screamed at viciously on this show, and it was called names from somebody that wasn't here for saying that. He gets his contract extension, and then the article comes out that he hasn't focused enough in the film room. The effort's not there. He hasn't been trying as hard as he should be. That all came out. So why the hell would you give this guy a massive contract extension then if this is what's coming up? Because, Jack, you saw it in the playoff game last year against the Rams. It was atrocious.
Yeah, the Cardinals were in a tough spot because I agree with you that Kyler's not like a top 8 quarterback, the type of guy that's going to elevate you or carry you to a Super Bowl. But they drafted him number 1. He has been at least moderately successful, even if not absolutely elite, for his rookie contract. So they kind of were in a position where that's kind of a guy that most teams would end up paying. And I did see that clause in his contract. That was actually really funny. And this actually came out 20 minutes ago. I don't know if you guys saw today that he held a surprise little press conference at training camp and basically called out the reporters for tweeting all that stuff.
Oh no, he went there. But that's the worst thing you could do. God.
As of 20 minutes ago, the Cardinals removed that clause from his contract, so that's not a thing anymore.
Okay.
I don't know. He is so sensitive. Really is one of those guys that just cannot handle being a quarterback. Listen, is he fun to watch? Sure. But again, and Speedy remembers this, when I was on this show back about a year and a half ago, Arrow and I had a half-an-hour argument about why Kyler Murray to me is not a top 10 quarterback, and I got screamed at. I'm planting my feet in the sand and saying he's not. And this just shows it's worse. That he's definitely not, because he's extremely sensitive to what people type about him. How about this? How about you drown out the noise and go do your business and be the best quarterback they're paying you to be, rather than worrying about what writers are talking about? It's an ideal way of looking at things. I mean, CJ Uzomah is going into Jets training camp with a Man of the Year shirt with Zach Wilson on it, and Zach knows what it refers to, and he's laughing about it. Kyler would have made a whole tweet rant about it, saying he's a bad guy, you hurt my feelings. I mean, come on. It's so ridiculous when guys do this. But, Speedy, go for it, man.
All right, before I get to my question, I just want to read a comment. Rob C. Arendt says, it's going to be the best cup of coffee when Watson gets 0 games and the Browns go to the Super Bowl. I don't think that's going to happen at this point in the season. Not this season. I think long-term, if he does come back, the Browns are absolutely a threat, because I think their roster is really good beyond that, Rob, but not this season. He's definitely going to get – I can't imagine him getting less than half the season. So I want to move on to the quarterback that hasn't gotten paid yet, but he's close, is he not? Lamar Jackson. He's his own agent with the Ravens. The Ravens have been an organization that there's very good player development, but do let players go after their rookie contracts too. They will stay young, replenish well, but they've also not been a great quarterback franchise. Where do you see them going, and what kind of price range could you see on a Lamar Jackson contract, whether with the Ravens or somewhere else?
Yeah, I think the Ravens are going to pay Lamar, and I think he's worth it. I think he's one of the best quarterbacks in the league, and I would expect somewhere in the Kyler Watson range. I'm not a contract expert or anything, but I assume that kind of seems like the benchmark for where QBs are this offseason at least, and so I think that's kind of where Lamar is going to be. That's going to be like the starting point for him.
So we look at the situation. We talk about another quarterback. I'll allude to Speedy's team. That is the New York Giants. I'll give you a hypothetical, Jack. Now, I don't think this is going to happen. I can assure you that Speedy is definitely not going to think this is going to happen because Speedy's as negative as anybody on the planet with the Giants. But here we go. Daniel Jones has a decent year. Pretty good year, right? Now his contract expires. Do the Giants go in on him and pay him a new contract? Or do they say, you know what, you had a great year, but we can't take the chance if this doesn't happen again, we let you walk, and they draft another quarterback if they're high enough in the draft? What do you do, especially with the amount of picks the Giants have? They can trade up if you're the Giants.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it depends on how good of a year we're talking. Like, I think for Daniel Jones, I think for it to be a smart investment for the Giants, Daniel Jones would kind of have to blow expectations out of the water. And the Giants do have picks, but if Jones does have this good year, then that probably means they outperform expectations a little, and they have like a decent season, and they're picking somewhere in the middle.
They're in a weak division too, Jack. They're in a weak division where they could get something going.
Yeah, they are. I mean, the Cowboys and Eagles are not awful, but but yeah, I don't think Daniel Jones is the long-term answer personally. And it would really, I guess, just put the Giants in kind of as tough a situation as it could be if he just is like solid this year, but doesn't go crazy, but also doesn't like put up the normal Daniel Jones numbers that we're used to seeing, and that isn't that great.
So I know you're a betting guy as well. So there's a lot of talks of these division value bets at the beginning of the season, all the plus hundreds and whatever that is. I'm not a betting expert. I don't know any of that stuff. But is there any bets that you like in terms of a division winner that could be an underdog at a good value to win it?
Most of the stuff, I haven't bet any divisional stuff recently. I have a Saints to win their division at like plus, I forget what it is, 400 or 450. I think it's like plus 360 now. I think the Saints are going to have a solid year, and the Bucs lost their starting center today.
I was going to say they lost Jensen today, yeah.
Yeah, maybe that's an angle. I have the Ravens at like plus something, but that was from like before. It seemed like Watson was going to get a big suspension, and it's kind of adjusted a little, but I still think the Ravens honestly are better than the Bengals. So I like them to win that division, but it is a tough division, especially if Watson gets a shorter than expected suspension, where you have three teams that could really be pretty solid.
It's crazy because I'm looking at, like you said, with betting and stuff, and I see these the projections. And I saw one projection today that had the Patriots going 6-11, and I said that is so not going to happen under any watch of Bill Belichick's. That is definitely not. I cannot see that happening. I actually think the Patriots are going to get one of the wild cards and get into the playoffs. That's I think Mac Jones is on the right track. He's in a good system. He's in the perfect spot to learn. I mean, I know Patricia's running the offense now, but Bill still calls the shots.
Joe Judge is on the staff too.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, Joe Judge is there too. So it's great. It's a double whammy. Where do you see the Patriots go? I still have them getting into the playoffs. I see Mac Jones still performing well. Where do you see the Patriots?
Yeah, I think they'll probably be around 500. I think they're on the outside looking in of the playoffs, but like if they make the playoffs, I wouldn't be surprised. I think they're right in that group of teams that could make the playoffs. I do like Mac Jones, and from all accounts, it sounds like Bill Belichick is really high on Mac Jones, and he thinks he's taken a big step forward going into year two, and they might give him a little more trust in the offense rather than being so run heavy. But we'll see. I think they're a solid team. I don't think they're going to blow anyone away. I think that's kind of the general expectation, and I don't have a hot take on them, unfortunately.
That's okay. I was going to ask you first, Speedy goes, what's your favorite team?
So it's actually kind of weird. So I've been playing fantasy since I was like 8 years old. So that's kind of like how I started watching football. So I don't really care about any specific team, which I know a bunch of people hate. Like if
that's smart. It's good.
Yeah, I mean, it probably is good for my lifespan, not
I would
having to sweat.
100% agree with you. Don't ever be a Jet fan. It's the worst thing possible.
And I'm from Illinois, so if anything, I'd be a Bears fan. And
for God's sakes, you found a team that might be worse than the Jets. God,
they're definitely worse than the Jets. They're probably one of the 3 worst teams in the league right now.
God.
Yeah. So.
At least you're not a Cowboy fan, so that makes it a little bit better. I will take that. But go for it, Speedy.
Don't worry, especially if you're not a Cowboys. Glad you're not a Cowboys fan, because we have one of this network that thought that Ezekiel Elliott could run on the '90s Lions offensive line and put up Barry Sanders-esque numbers.
Oh God, no, we're not going there.
Well, I went there for the sake of he has to know.
No, because I saw he's watching, so there you go.
Yeah, so yeah, at least you're not that